everybody, I am Joel Friesen. We are Silver Arrow Cars, and I am standing here today with a very special car out of Italy. This, of course, is the Ferrari 430 Scuderia. This is a 2008 model. They built them from 2008 to 2009. The 430 Scud, as most people call it, very special for a lot of reasons, and we'll get into that here. But this one specifically we're standing with today, we sold 4 years ago, and now it's come back into our inventory from a great client that has moved on to some other Ferrari product. This one is special being that there are some very special options on this car, or that the build spec of this car is very special. Probably what you're noticing right away, and maybe what drew you into this listing, is that it is finished in extra range, or in other words, paint to sample from the Porsche world. This is extra range paint. This is called Azzurro California. So it's a very heavy metallic light blue color. And it's got a lot of other special options beyond kind of a normal spec 430 Scud. That racing stripe in the dark metallic blue, the Nart stripe, that is also a special request color, and then also the yellow outline of the stripe, that is also a special color. The special features don't stop there on this car. It continues into the interior, where we've got the full leather interior with special request contrast stitching. It is not a plain black interior, thankfully. It is very well spec'd with blue Scuro, or Scuro blue. So that's a dark blue, dark navy blue leather. And then it has the crema inserts, or the centers of the carbon fiber bucket seats. And then you'll see that crema stitching throughout the rest of the interior, along the dash, along the seats. And then on the rear firewall as well, you're gonna see the crema leather finished across that rear tray, or that rear firewall. The car had plenty of other options when spec'd new. It was sold new, if I hadn't said that already, in the USA. This is a USA delivery and spec car, sold new in Fort Lauderdale, and then later on in its life, it came here to Canada. Very important to note, the car is being sold with a fresh service from our friends at Ferrari Maserati of Vancouver. We do plenty of business and send lots of cars to them and trust them implicitly. A fresh service. And then on that note, it does come with a binder with essentially all service history from new, from its first PDI right up until today. So complete service history. And then as well as it does have both of its original keys. It does have its original owner's manuals, both filled out in the front pages of those key books. Those are in its original pouch. It does come with an original Ferrari car cover in its original bag, also the steering wheel cover and the seat covers as well. It does come with its battery tender. It comes with its tire inflation kit, the original tire inflation kit in the front trunk. And it also has its toolkit with bulbs and tools all securely fastened in that front trunk area. So a very, very complete car. The car has, to our knowledge and from our inspection, received no paint work on any of the panels, with the exception of the bumper, and that is noted and documented in the service history. That was done by a dealer in preparation for sale back, I believe, in 2018 or 2019. It was ordered with a total MSRP of $312,732 US, and included the following options: brake calipers in yellow color, colored dashboard, Handley fire extinguisher, leather upholstery, Ferrari iPod, out of range paint color, racing stripe, rims in gold color. So the car was born with gold rims, however they were painted satin anthracite years later. That's how they appear today. And then it also had special features, special stitching, and colored steering wheel listed on the window sticker for extra options. But reading out the actual options pulled from the Ferrari system: instrument panel, so that is the rev counter in yellow, leather upholstery in blue Scuro, dark blue, carbon fiber steering wheel with the LED rev lights, radio navi system and Bluetooth, racing livery exterior border, so that is the yellow, or or Gallo. Stripes around the stripes. Out of range paint color, Azuro California, which we've already mentioned. The NART racing stripe in extra range or extra request color. 20-inch forged gold rims, repainted in anthracite. Driver seat adjustment device, incline adjustment on the side. Carbon fiber racing seats. Special features, special colored stitching, extra range, colored steering wheel in blue Scuro or dark blue, and interior 3D fabric color. So we've already pointed out some of the things that make the 430 different from the normal the 430 Scud different than the normal F430. Some of the major things that came along with the specification of these cars to be a car that competed with, say, a GT3 RS or the Gallardo Superleggera or Superlight. One obviously was weight. So these cars weighed considerably less than a normal 430 coupe. I believe it was somewhere in the 220 to 250 pound range lighter, and that comes from a lot of the interior. The interior is very bare bones in the 430 Scud. You've got carbon fiber door panels with no deadening materials on both sides. You've got obviously the carbon fiber bucket seats, not comfort leather bucket seats. You've got no sound deadening on the floors. You have no carpets. It is very, very basic. One of the, I think, probably massive things to talk about in the difference between a normal F1 430 and then the 430 Scud or Scuderia is going to be something that's probably going to come up when you're thinking about purchasing one of these cars, or when you're talking about it, or maybe in the threads that go along with this sale. It is the improvements they made to the F1 transmission in the 430 Scud specifically that is different than the F1 transmission in the normal 430 Spider and the normal 430 coupe. This has at the time, their latest edition of transmission or the automated F1 gearbox versus those cars, and was substantially faster. But the shifts that came from this transmission, which I believe was called the Superfast 2 version, and it has something like a 60 millisecond shift time. That is very, very fast. It is certainly not as fast as today's dual clutch transmissions, but is substantially faster than a normal F1 transmission. Under full load and full throttle, the shifts, if you can imagine, 60 milliseconds, under a second. Very, very fast and very, very hard, which I can tell you is extremely enjoyable to drive. The driving characteristics of the 430 Scud are much more raw and sharp than you're gonna get in the normal editions of the F430. It does have that feel that you get from a GT3 RS or a GT3, which I think a lot more people have driven than probably a 430 Scud. Which brings me to another point to mention, is that even though there aren't concrete numbers as to the production numbers of the limited production of the 430 Scud, there is in fact a number for the 16M, which came after the 430, or after the coupe. So they built 499 was the reported number that they had built of the 16M, and from best estimates, about 1,600 of the 430 Scud were produced. And I think over the production of the 430, I think there was 14,000 built. So very, very limited production of this racing-inspired 430. The engine, 4.3 liters of displacement, flat plane, crank, dual overhead cams. But instead of making, I believe, 480 horsepower, which was the normal car, this one was now rated, I believe, at 505 horsepower. Also, the engine was tuned differently, and the torque curve is completely different, or substantially different than the normal 430. So where the car makes its torque is along, I think, 3,000 to 8,000 RPM is fairly linear instead of the peaks that you would see in the street version. So the 430 Scud pulls harder through its entire RPM range. I think for the purists out there and for the people that just love driving, a 430 Scud is right in the sweet zone for a very analog car. I think in today's collector car market, I think a lot of people with the new technologies and hybrid technologies and turbo cars, I think a lot of people are looking back to the slightly more analog of modern cars, and I think the 430 Scud fits nicely right into that bracket. Other cars that were in and around the same time, of course, the 599, 997 turbos, all of which people are looking at, I think, more and more for that pretty true and analog feeling sports car before you got into some of the newer stuff. And I think this car sits very nicely in that category. Speaking specifically about the condition of this car, it is exceptional. I think across the entire car, there's no PPF currently on the car, and there hasn't been for a number of years, which I am somewhat thankful for. Where the car has lived and been driven, the owner over the past 4 years, an automotive mechanical engineer, is very passionate about his cars and only drives them in the wee hours of the morning before everybody else is on the road. And certainly the condition that it survives in today is proof and is a result of that care that he's given it. So we're going to show you some footage around the car and talk about its condition. But from everything and the key places that people are going to have questions in regards to a car and its condition, I can point those things out right now, and there's very, very few. So as already mentioned years ago, the front bumper cover due to rock chips was removed, repainted, and replaced. There are very, very, very few chips on the front of the car. None that I can easily point out to you. I've tried to do this in a hand phone video for somebody else, and it was extremely challenging. There was really one on the bumper cover here, and then a couple down near the carbon fiber insert in the center of the bumper, where it has a couple very small chips. Very, very few on the entire front of this car, and thankfully few to almost none on the metal surfaces in and around the front. Really, any of those very, very small chips are going to show up on the bumper cover itself. Is the next small thing to point out, one of the mirror caps, I believe it's it's the passenger side, very small chip on the upper arm of the carbon fiber mirror. There's one small chip on, I believe, the driver's rear wheel in the paint, which we will touch up before it leaves. And then I think really the only thing to mention is that, fairly typical for the 430s, the inside of the lens on the headlights has almost a frosting effect on it. And generally the fix that I am aware of for these, which we don't have anyone in our area that's qualified to do it, would be is just removing the headlight, splitting the cover, and then fixing the inner part of the lens. The interior is immaculate. The seats are immaculate. The dash, there's a little bit of waving in the leather along the defrost vents, and you can see that in our photos. Waving, what I don't know if that would have been like that new, just because of where the mounting points are of those vents. The vents, the steering wheel, the carbon fiber door panels, everything is in extremely good condition on the interior. The leather seats, which I think is important to mention, they still have that matte finish to them that you expect when a car is new, and that I would normally expect maybe at 14,000 miles has worn off, but not the case here. The seats are in extremely good condition. No sticky buttons to mention on the interior, with the exception of the reverse button has a little bit of sticky surfacing to it, but your climate control buttons, no stickiness there. Same with the control knobs for the stereo. I'd say maybe the start of it on the passenger window switch, and your vent surrounds are great. The interior overall is exceptional. All your buttons on your left side, so your fuel door, your parking lights, and your front trunk. The headliner and the leather surrounding the headliner, all in fantastic condition. No big chunks out of the doors or big scuffs in the carbon fiber on the doors. They are all in extremely good condition. Moving to the rear of the car and inside the engine compartment. I think the one thing to note here, and it's a fairly easy replacement, we'll try and purchase one before the end of this auction, but the coolant reservoir in between the intake runners and air filter boxes, the carbon fiber has slightly hazed, I guess, from heat. That seems to be about a $600 or $800 replacement, so we'll work on that. But the rest of the engine bay is extremely tidy and in extremely good condition, being that the car, for at least its last 4 years, lived in a climate-controlled garage and by a very detail-oriented man, is in extremely good condition. Also at the rear of the car, the carbon fiber rear grille, extremely good condition. There's nothing to mention there. Very, very tidy. The carbon fiber rear diffuser, such a good look on these cars. We'll note there is a couple very small marks on the bottom of the fins, very small. We'll show those, but exteriorly and from the rear of the car, there's nothing to note and nothing to mention. There's nothing you can see there. And then the rest of the car is very much the same, an immaculate car in very, very good condition. And we will show you lots of footage of the car. And of course, we've got hundreds of photos for you to examine and to look through, but a very, very well kept USA delivery paint to sample or extra range 430 Scud. So to wrap things up on this car, certainly reach out to us. We are Silver Arrow Cars. You can find us very easily on the internet. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on the web, and reach out and give us a call. But I think the key things to mention about this car, one of the major things to mention is that this is a special color 430 Scud. This isn't your typical red, white, black, or gray car. This is paint to sample or extra range Azuro California. This is a beautiful light blue metallic. And then it also has special request colors on the NART racing stripe. So it's a dark blue stripe with also special request Giallo or yellow exterior lines or stripes to the racing stripes. Born new and sold new just before Christmas in 2008 at Ferrari of Fort Lauderdale. The car is now sitting back in Blaine, Washington in our warehouse, sitting on a Washington state title. The car comes complete with its original keys. It comes with its original leather owner's manual pouch. It has all of its original owner's manuals and warranty books. It has its car cover, seat covers, wheel cover, bag, battery tender, tire inflation kit, tool kit. It's a very, very complete car. It also comes with complete service history in a binder, and we're going to include those things in our documents for our listing. The car also is coming to you with a fresh service and inspection from Ferrari of Vancouver before it left Canada back for the United States. So a very complete car. But most importantly, I think to mention, beyond the fact that the 430 Scud is such a special car, is that this is a very clean and a very clean history, a very complete history, and is essentially a very special paint to sample color or extra range color for 430 Scud, which is not easy to find. I think that's something that should be factored in when you're looking at these cars and you're comparing it against other cars. Same goes for if you're looking at paint to sample 911s, GT3s, GT3 RSs, whichever, which have you. They always command a premium and should command a premium over normal spec colors. If you have any more questions, please reach out to us on this car or any other car. If you have a car to sell, we are Silver Arrow Cars Limited. We are headquartered in British Columbia, Canada, and you can find us on the web at silverarrowcars.com. Please reach out with any of your questions and good luck.